One for all.
People talk to people.
And people understand.
Awesome. Of course, today is Wednesday, and usually we want to talk to our freshers, those who are coming in. This is an opportunity to represent Ebony to them, and also to we ourselves. Those of us who've been here for ages, and Ebony World is a social network of entrepreneurs who come together to help one another to rise through education, information, connection, capital, support, financial, and moral. That's really what we do, and it's an awesome endeavor. But you must have a mind that, hey, I want to help somebody. Following the doctrine of Zig Ziglar, that we can have everything we want in life, provided we ourselves will help enough other people get what they want out of life. The more people you help, the more help you get. It is simply sowing and reaping. Sowing and reaping. Our vision is to attain economic inclusion for all. Our vision is to attain economic inclusion for all. And our mission arising therefrom is to build extraordinary wealth from ordinary opportunities. To build extraordinary wealth from ordinary daily activities. Now, how do you do that? You can't build wealth unless you are an entrepreneur. Only entrepreneurs can build wealth. If you are not an entrepreneur, you are likely to waste wealth. So it takes entrepreneurs to build wealth that can be passed from generation to generation. And who is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is one who builds a system to mobilize men, to mobilize money, to mobilize materials, to mobilize machine for efficient production of value on a consistent and sustainable basis. That's the entrepreneur, to deliver value through a system that has mobilized men, money, machines, and materials, deliver value to customers, consistently on a sustainable basis. To be sustainable, therefore, it must be profitable. Our business as entrepreneurs is to provide value. Profit is a reward for this value. But many of us go into business for the sake of money. Money has no end. Money in itself has no value other than for what it can do. If money cannot be used for anything, then that money is trash. So that is why here we say that cash is trash. Yes, but many also come in to join us because they are looking for cash, they are looking for money. Ours is not about money. Ours is about freedom. When the entrepreneur sets up a system to do all these things that we have talked about, the goal is to do what? Is to achieve personal freedom, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's to achieve freedom. Now, the entrepreneur sets out for two things. Number one is that freedom. And what is looking for? But what kind of freedom? Economic freedom. Economic freedom. Economic freedom goes beyond financial freedom. Goes beyond, having money in your wallet. Goes beyond a fat bank account. Goes beyond a beautiful house. Goes beyond a nice holiday. It has to do with your health. It has to do with your mental stability. It has to do with your spiritual completeness. It has to do with your character. it has to do with leadership, it has to do with emotional balance, it has to do with social order, it has to do with psychological conquest of the self. So this is what we call economic freedom. So economic freedom includes political freedom, it includes spiritual freedom, it includes a lot of other things. Okay? And now, but you cannot be asking for freedom without recognizing the freedom of others. Because where my freedom stops, your own freedom begins. Where your freedom stops, mine begins. So there's no such thing as absolute freedom. Unbridled freedom, unconstrained freedom. It's not possible. Our freedoms are limited to the extent of the freedoms of our neighbors and of others in our society. So this is what we educate us about. Therefore, if my freedoms are so constrained, then I need to know what my rights are. What are my rights? So for that, we have what we call the Ebony Bill of Rights. The Ebony Bill of Rights. Here we are talking about one, right to health, education and information. Right to education and information. Number 2, right to health and wellness. Number 3, right to economic well-being. Number 4, right to your own personal conscience. Number 5, right to family shelter. Number 6, right of say, right to speak, not only to be seen, but also to be heard. Then number 7, right of procreation. Number 8, right of spirituality. Number 9, right to personal dignity, to be treated as a human being and not as a second-class citizen. Number 10, right to live in peace, peaceful enjoyment of the fruit of my labor. Right to live in peace. Number 12, right to think. Right to think, because we are molded by our thoughts. Right to think. And then number 13, right to choose. You have the right to choose. And then right to my time, i.e., right to have control over my time. And then number 15, right to justice and equity. Right to justice and equity. Number 17, right to build leverage. That's system. You have the right to it. Many of us do not exercise that right. We subordinate it to others, and therefore we begin to enjoy what we call salary. Then number 18, right to my natural resources. I have the right to natural resources that I'm endowed with, not just to excavate them, but to process them and add value before moving it out for a reward. And then finally, I have a right to good governance. I have the right to good governance. Now, if you look at all these rights are trampled upon on a daily basis. And many of us now take it as a given that we do not have any rights whatsoever. Right to equity and justice, for instance, was brought to light yesterday when I saw one news, cast of somebody, a vulcanizer, who stole, I think about 50,000 or so, something like that, and they have been sentenced to death. Is it to death? Yes, sentenced to death.
He stole what?
About 57,000.
Money.
Yes, and he's sentenced to death. That's in Niger State. Sentenced to death. And we have people who are stealing in billions, in trillions now, and we are celebrating them. Now, why is that young man sentenced to death? No economic power. Without economic power, you cannot fight for justice. You cannot fight for your rights. Now, this is where Ebony comes in. So we've talked about freedom. Now, and to emphasize this, we have come up with a freedom charter, which you sign on to when you join us. And it is a solemn oath to get up and fight for your freedom. We'll come back to that as to why we want to fight for our freedom. Then number 2, why the entrepreneur sets out is control. The entrepreneur wants control. Number one, he wants freedom. But number two, he wants control.
True.
Yes. He must want to be in control of his time. He wants to be in control of his resources. He wants to be in control of his processes. He want to be in control of his life. You know, this is, and then he also now wants to set up a system where he's also in control. Yes, not just for him. The entrepreneur also wants to control a system rather than being controlled inside of a system. So these are the two drivers for the entrepreneur. Many don't have the two anyway. So many will achieve freedom, but they may not be able to achieve control. Ebony helps you to achieve both of them. Having achieved your own personal freedom, we help you to set up a system where you are now in control of your economic circumstances, where you are also now responsible for the economic destiny of others. Okay? Now, we are entrepreneurs. And I said before, entrepreneurs set up system to, manage men and money, to manage materials and machines, instruments of production, and this is what we call business. Business.
Entrepreneurs set up a system.
Yes, set up a system to mobilize men, to mobilize money, to mobilize machine, to mobilize materials, to coordinate them for production of value or consistently on a sustainable basis. To be sustainable, it must be profitable. Okay? Profit is a consequence, a reward for doing all these things correctly. Without profit, it's not sustainable. Okay? So that is where profit will come in. So it's in business. But we also know that business is what? Is war. Business is war. Yes, economic war. Business is war. Economic war. Economic war. Now, if business is war or an economic war, entrepreneurship is economic urban warfare. Entrepreneurship is economic urban warfare. Economic urban
warfare.
Yes, warfare. That's what it is. Many of us come into this thing thinking that it's just another, if it works fine, it doesn't work fine. If it works fine, if it doesn't work, you're dead. That's the truth. We don't have a choice, because in war, there is no room for second position. Either you win or you are done for. Not just lose, you're dead. Those who lose in war, they're dead. Why? Because those who are even alive will fight another day. So if you have run away to fight another day, you are not really lost, because you have just postponed the fight. So in war, either you win or you disappear. Now if that is the case, and you are coming into business, it's either your business succeeds or they wipe it off. It will collapse. But are we going to say because business collapsed, we won't do business again?
Impossible.
We will do business. Because if we shy away from business, we ourselves, we have even collapsed already without even trying. And no trial, no success. So entrepreneurship is economic urban warfare. Economic urban warfare. So therefore is the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is an economic freedom fighter. Economic freedom
Fighter.
Because we said before that the entrepreneur is inside number one, freedom. So the goal of the entrepreneur is freedom. Freedom, economic freedom. Not money, not more money. People think that it's about money. It's not about money. So we hear, I've got so much money, they gave me so much money, I'm into network marketing. The first month I was giving this, second month I was giving this, then I have a car. Are you free? Are you free? That's the question. And many think that they are free. They are not free because they are part of somebody else's system. So they do not have control. They think they have control, but don't have control. So they may think that they are free, but they don't have control. And the day the owner of the system shuts the system for any reason, everything comes out like a pack of cards. So to become an entrepreneur, the goal is to achieve freedom and also achieve control. So we are economic freedom fighters. We are fighting for our economic freedom. Our economic freedom is the economic freedom of our nation, so that we can graduate from flag independence to economic independence. So based on that, we've come up with what we call EBONY WORLD
Freedom Charter.
EBONY WORLD
Freedom Charter.
Now, this is a very deep concept that not everybody can understand from day one. So when you join us, there's a period of grooming, and you get to a point where you become a chartered member. A chartered member. As a chartered member, you are given this to sign on your own freedom charter, saying, one, I was conceived free. I was conceived free. You were conceived free, and you were born free. All men are born free, but not all men live and enjoy freedom. Therefore, I must be free. I must be free. For me to be free, time freedom is mine. Health freedom is mine. Financial freedom is mine. Social freedom is mine. Political freedom is mine. Psychological freedom is mine. Emotional freedom is mine. Spiritual freedom is mine. I shall live free, and I will also die free. Me and my generations, we shall be free. We must be free, and we will
be free.
You sign on. It becomes an oath that you are taking with yourself. It is a covenant you are making with yourself. And it's not something that we take lightly. We take it very seriously. So on a daily basis, we rise up in pursuit of these freedoms, because it's never going to be given to anyone on a platter of gold. The oppressor will never set the oppressed free willingly. The oppressed must rise up, take action, and do everything necessary to achieve and attain his freedom, not only for himself, also for his generations. This is the choice that Ebony has placed before you. We ask you to choose freedom. We ask you to choose control. We ask you to rise up and stand firm for what you believe in. You must stand for something. He who stands for nothing will fall for anything. Stop selling yourself cheap. Stop selling yourself short. Freedom is our goal. Control is our goal. Are you ready? That is the question we place before you. And if you are ready, we have come to assist you on this quest. We have come to assist you on this journey. Ebony World is an adventure into a vast unknown. There is so much ahead of us. Many of us are afraid. afraid of what we know, afraid of what we do not know. Let me part by saying this. Fear of the unknown is the greatest obstacle to freedom and progress. Quoting John F. Kennedy. So let's get together so that we can get ahead. God bless you.
Amen.